my name is Kerry Siggins. I'm the CEO of StoneAge, a employee-owned manufacturing company in Durango, Colorado. We manufacture industrial cleaning equipment, water jetting tooling, think squirt guns on steroids. And if you're like me, you are always trying to find ways to inspire your employees to give their best and to add value to your team and company. And being a CEO of an employee-owned company for the past 15 years, I've learned that cultivating an ownership mindset is the key. We want our employees to think and act like owners because they are owners. And our results speak for themselves. We have an annual compound growth rate of over 14%. And you too can see these kinds of results if you promote and nurture employee ownership thinking within your organization. And the good news is that you can do it without being an employee-owned company. But before I tell you how, I need to admit that I didn't always understand the power of ownership thinking. It took getting feedback from one of my employees to really understand it. Have you ever gotten that true kind of in-your-face feedback from one of your employees? Well, if you haven't, then you have not experienced a leadership rite of passage. It's a very powerful and humbling thing. And if you haven't, you also do not have a culture of ownership. During my second year of being CEO at StoneAge, we really screwed up, or at least I thought we did. I got a call from an angry customer telling me that we sent him used product. Very expensive used product. What? How could this be? I asked him to send me a picture, and sure enough, when I received it, he was right. There was rust on the steel and dings on the paint. I immediately marched down to my shop and demanded to know what had happened. In front of the entire team, including my sales manager, who would come with me to find out what had happened, I said, "How could you guys have sent this overseas to one of our most important customers? What were you thinking?" They all looked at me nervously, eyes wide, but they were silent. My shop manager finally spoke up very timidly and said, "Kerry, there's no way we sent it like that. Something must have happened while it was on the cargo carrier, or the customer is lying." Whew. Oh, my face was flush. Like, how is he not taking responsibility for this? Really? He's blaming the customer? And I replied, "Well, it did happen, and it's your problem. You need to fix it. Make sure this doesn't happen again, because this is going to cost us a fortune." And then I stormed out of the shop and went back to my office to call the customer. About an hour later, my sales manager came into my office and closed the door. "That was really rough," he said. "You did some real damage down there, Kerry. Those guys care as much about the customer as you do. They actually take a tremendous amount of ownership in every single thing that comes out of the shop, both the good and the bad. But you didn't give them the benefit of the doubt, and you didn't trust that they did the right thing. I don't know that they will ever open up to you again. I know how much you value in building relationships, so I wanted to let you know that they're really angry." I was so embarrassed, I started to cry. He was right. I lost my cool because the customer lost his cool. And instead of absorbing it like a real leader would, I projected it and then amplified it onto my team. I thanked him for having the guts to come and tell me, and I walked back down to the shop and I personally apologized to each and every one of my shop team members. It was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had. And that's when I realized the power of ownership thinking, and how my actions would either cultivate it further or stifle it. And as I've developed our culture and grown our company, I've learned that the best kind of culture is the one where employees share an ownership mindset. When you build a culture of ownership, you will drive results. Why? Because when people know that they have a say in their daily work and that they can help set the direction of the company, they feel more empowered to do great work, and they'll be more invested in your organization's success. So how do you go about doing it? Here are 4 things that you can start doing today. Number 1, exhibit the ownership mindset yourself. Leaders cannot expect their employees to show up with an ownership mindset if they themselves aren't. You must own all of your actions, decisions, mistakes, attitudes, and behaviors. You must regulate your emotions and be a force of positivity and motivation. You must live your company values, even if doing so doesn't serve your interests in the moment. Why? Because you set the tone. Your employees will model your workplace behaviors. If you show up with an ownership mindset, then they will too. On the other hand, they will likely follow suit if you deflect, blame, or have a bad attitude. One of the ways that I exhibit ownership thinking is by living by my motto, cool, calm, and collected. I figured that out later. How does this help me? Well, when I remain level-headed, despite high-pressure situations, I regulate my emotions. I make better decisions. I listen more carefully, and I recognize when I'm negatively impacting my team. Develop and live by your own motto to help you stay true to an ownership mindset. Number 2, teach people how to give and receive feedback. Cultures that exhibit ownership thinking are also cultures of feedback. But giving feedback is not easy to do, and many people avoid it, including leaders, you and me. I recommend teaching your employees Kim Scott's radical candor model of providing direct, helpful, and caring feedback, and then practicing it regularly. If you haven't read Kim's book, Radical Candor, do so. She can give you all the tools you need to set up an effective feedback model that anyone in your organization can implement. It's that good. Then encourage your teammates to talk about what's going well and what isn't. Implement mini 360-degree views where your peers give each other feedback. Model feedback skills by asking for it from people on your team. And then when you get tough feedback, like I did, handle it with grace and gratitude. Number 3, give autonomy. In his book, Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, Daniel Pink asserts that the secret to high performance and job satisfaction is the deeply held human need to direct our own lives, to learn and create new things, and to leave the world a better place. If you create a culture where 1, people are paid what they are worth, and then help them direct their own lives and work, you'll inspire the ownership mindset. One easy way to give autonomy is to let your employees develop their own processes. Let them develop their own schedules. Ask them for input on their work and involve them in strategic planning and goal setting. Share the outcome that you would like to see and then let them devise the best way to achieve it. We give as much freedom as possible to our employees who are significantly more engaged because they feel more in control of their work. And finally, number 4, teach people how to resolve conflict. Conflict. Workplace conflict is miserable, messy, and it's far too prevalent. Many leaders would rather just sweep that issue right under the rug than address conflict within their teams. Don't be this kind of leader. Instead, model what healthy conflict resolution looks like. Step in and help your team talk through issues. Don't triangulate, meaning don't be that person that everybody comes to talk about the other person and then you go and try to fix it. That just makes conflict worse. Instead, encourage your teammates to be curious, to ask questions, and to hear each other out. Help employees in conflict find common ground and work towards positive outcomes. Brainstorm possible solutions and help them devise a plan of action. Doing so teaches them how to work together to create a team culture where tough problems can be discussed and solved. And eventually, they won't need you to intervene. I've worked on my team with this over the years, and they are exceptional at resolving disagreements without me. Just last week, my engineering leadership team were in a disagreement about roles and responsibilities. And instead of having me step in, they brainstormed and debated possible solutions and developed a document that outlined the engineering team operating principles. They worked it out themselves. And one of the leaders told me afterwards that it was one of the best meetings she had ever had. They were so proud of the solutions that they came up with, and they felt empowered to work out their own issues. And they practiced their feedback giving and feedback taking skills. Having years to reflect on that experience where I lost my cool and blamed my employees for something that they were not responsible for, I am incredibly grateful for my flub. My employees taught me the true power of the ownership mindset and set me on a path to cultivate what we call the own it mindset at StoneAge. our values and attributes that will lead our employees to find success. It took time to develop, but it's well worth it. Our engagement levels are in the high 80%, astonishing considering the dismal state of employee engagement worldwide. And you too can make progress today by implementing these practices. Exhibit the ownership mindset yourself. Teach people how to give and receive feedback. Give autonomy and teach people how to resolve conflict. Even a small step is a step in the right direction. Take action today. Thank you so much for joining me on this clever presentation. I'm always happy to discuss ownership mindset with any of you. Please feel free to reach out and contact me anytime. Thank you.